Hi, everybody. This is Rich and Agvila, and we're going to talk about remote viewing, getting out of body, and psychic readings and psychic scans, deep psychic scans, dual scans. We work together to give people scans, and we help them with entity stuff and soul contracts and implants and all this sort of thing. So what we thought we'd do is kind of an interview sort of thing. Agvila is the interesting one in my world. So when did you first start realizing that you had psychic abilities, Agvila?
Probably when you told me about it, because my whole life it just seemed more like natural, but I wasn't thinking about it, or I didn't really have labels of what it is. It's just like that's just how things worked.
So like ever since you can remember, you could like see entities or see weird things that
Yeah, since birth.
Yeah. Okay. And at first you didn't realize that other people couldn't see those, or you knew they could but didn't say anything?
I think I learned like at an early age where I see more stuff. Let's say I'm a baby in a crib and I can see little thingies floating around and, like, okay. But let's say growing up and learning to speak somewhat as a kid, and then, like I look through the window and there's some angels, there's some, beings just like, let's say you would be into smoking or something, and then you get to the, I don't know, like to look through the window. It's just what you're going to do. So normal people, do you see the view outside? I go and there's like literally some creature onto like next to the window looking into your apartment or building and just watching, and I'm like, Mom, look, there's this, and she's like, no. Like, there's not. So I did it a few more times and everything, and soon I learned that, I probably shouldn't talk about it, just in case. It's just naturally, it wasn't like I'm gonna get into the psych ward or anything. Like I had normal family in that way, but it was just like, oh, I don't want any more misunderstandings or others to think that I'm lying. So okay, stop talking about it.
Yeah. So you could see like entities around other people when you were little?
Yeah.
Now, did you think that was weird or unusual or scary, or was it just like, normal?
Like it's all relative, because like for me at the time, as a kid, I had tons of nightmares. And later on, I understood like it's not just nightmares, it's, getting out of body and then ending up in some weird worlds. And there's like the apocalypse going on, or everyone's being killed and dying in front of my eyes. So I lived with that day to day until like I got like, I don't know, 17. It was like my everyday thing. So seeing entities after everything I've been through the night is like, huh, these are peaceful guys, like they're just thinking,
Wow. So you were kind of like a war baby, except multidimensional, because you were in those war zones a lot?
Yeah. I mean, let's say you can watch, I don't know, let's say cartoons or some video games or other things, and there's like all kinds of creatures, like what, that Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft, I think. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird looking beings over there as well. So that was like my day-to-day life, where I've seen a lot of these things when I would fall asleep. And, I would not like normally getting out of body or shifting my conscious into recalling past life. And that was like, okay, like it's just what I am. I didn't knew that at the time. So like I kind of like got this rough skin, like just by seeing all this stuff before.
Wow. Okay, so did you talk to the entities much back then, and do you talk to them now, or what's communicating with entities? Is that a thing or not a thing, or how does that work?
I think if there was any communication, it was more telepathic, because it's not like they would open their little mouths or try to communicate and I would hear it out loud. It was more like, just watching people. Of course, you can sort of like get the perception or the essence of what they're trying to put into other people's heads. But like mainly for me, if I would like have a question, even if I would ask it out loud, I would get the answer in my head. I'm like, oh. And then I would like shut up and try to ask the question within. And sure enough, the answer was there. So like I learned that like telepathic communication is very easy with them. It just like, it's very similar to talking to yourself. And then you have to start differentiating, is it you or is it someone else, and who's talking? So for me, like that was like early age training. But I feel like the biggest thing for me is like when I think it was my godfather who bought me this little Mickey red toy teddy bear. First thing I did was like tear off the ribbon, and from female bear it became a male bear for whatever reason.
Oh, the
But
persona, the
yeah,
entity within, there was an entity that
yes,
kind of attached to the little
it's
teddy bear thing.
very interestingly enough, because like let's say the first year or two I had it, I didn't need it. But then out of the blue, it became my number one. It's like some being just got into its space where we could communicate. And you like if someone like, or let's say like, yeah, I left it at my grandparents, and my parents like when me like went back to home, and I've been crying all night because I didn't have my teddy bear. So literally my dad had to go back to the like to my grandparents, pick up the teddy bear and get back, and like nothing else works. Like, you buy me something else, nothing. None other toys would work. And there were just like a lot of instances where I would talk to him, I would like bring it to the table, and we're talking, and I'm like feeding him and everything else. Like of course, like a lot of kids do that, but for me, like little conversations with that guy would be a thing. And like I didn't know at the time, like if I was normal, but
Wow. Yeah. So if so like when we have clients together on Zoom, can you see entities? Like, say that's where they come to us, they have some entity issues. Can you see the entities, or is it a fuzzball, or how does that work in your world? Do you move into their space, or you see it on camera, or what?
mainly I try to, let's say, consciousness shift, so to speak. So if I would have anyone like, let's say, okay, I see you on Zoom, and it's not like I see some entity floating around you. It's more like, okay, I see you, I know how you look like. Now I will more likely create a space where I'm gonna put you in there, and I will walk into that space, which means it's more private, nothing or no one can interfere on a bigger scale. And then I can walk around and feel the energy, or let's say then some entities will pop up and everything else. But like it's more like how I do it.
Yeah.
Just like creating my own space to work.
Okay. Now, do you normally, when you deal with entities, are they, let's say, a targeted individual sort of thing, or because a lot of people come to us with entity issues. Now, how do you deal with them? Do you talk to them nicely? Do you just suck them out of your space with a galactic vacuum? Do you blow them up? How do you normally deal with another beings, like a client's entities, if you had to do that?
Okay, so there's like few ways to answer this.
Okay.
One, being completely blunt, had so many clients that fix me. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to change my life. I want to stick to the ways I am. And whatever kind of work I would do to them, it's like if you got a heart condition by eating unhealthy food, by doing certain things, and then you get an operation, surgery, and you're fixed, but you can continue doing same old things that got you in that place in the first place. It's like whatever I did is temporary fix. So in that kind of regard, I learned, okay, I'm going to share techniques. I'm going to show them how to do it, give as much information as possible. Now it's your turn. If you want to change, do it. So
Okay.
That's how I went.
Okay.
But the other answer, like,
wait,
let's
before you go to the other answer, I got an analogy.
All right.
All right. So it's the way the being, all of us, the way we are will attract or repel or keep sick. But if we are attracting entities, it's something about the way we are, something we're thinking, feeling, our body, something. So it's kind of like a little pile of poop with flies, and they go, and some of them, some fly around, some of them land, and the pile of poop. That's sure I shouldn't be doing that. Hey, Vila, could you get rid of the flies for me? Well, yeah, but they're going to come back. You're a pile of poop right now. Yeah, but could you get rid of yeah. but what you got to do is you gotta change your energy so you're more fragrant, and you're attracting, you know, instead of attracting a shit-eating archon, you're attracting you know, the love of your life, or you know, a new good best friend or something in the physical world. They have another body like you do, and you can see them and stuff, instead of attracting parasitic entities. Kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, like it's.
I want to apologize to everybody who we've ever given a session to. I too,
No.
just to say, I too have had to get out of here, get out of here. So can be a, you know, in this metaphor, I can be a pile of poop myself. It's just the way it energetically, I stuck myself into a poop hole.
No, but that's the thing. It's like our everyday life, and like, of course, it's fun and games for us now because today at this very moment we're feeling great. But at any point throughout the day, we can become that thing. You know, it's just like we get hit by
I feel like shit today.
exactly. You know, like a lot of triggers can happen, and you know, you and I, we're not pros at controlling ourselves either. Like we get attacked, we get all those things too. It's just that throughout the time and practice, we have learned to deal with those things, and we're a bit more consistent with it.
Yeah.
Like, but we're still not protected from it. It's not like you can ever get away from it fully while you're on Earth.
Yeah.
It's just that like throughout all these sessions, personally for me, like we've had a lot of clients who have similar stories and similar mindset where fix me, I don't want to do anything. And I've met enough of those where it's more like, okay, you know, I have, let's say, 7 things in the arsenal that I use myself all the time. It works for me. I try to give it to others. If they use it and it works, yay. If it doesn't, let's look for more tools. And nothing works, well, sorry, let's look for something else instead. So there's that part, but like we have some sessions where people come up with stuff that even I'm like, holy cow, what can I do for this person? Because it's like, you listen to the story, you're asking yourself, how are they still alive? Doctors are asking the same thing. Scientists are asking the same thing. And this person is like living, I don't know, walking hell in a way where what they experienced. And, you know, like, so there's all kinds of sessions, like really depends on what kind of fishes they have. Like, because entities is like the light is scratching the surface type of thing. Listen, okay, you have someone in your space that's putting thoughts in your head and you assume or like misidentify it as yours. So all of a sudden you just have more thoughts throughout the day in your head and you have certain feeling states. That's it. But if you work on yourself as in either just like trying to quiet it, like, or not respond to it, or catch it and why am I feeling anxious, and just like working through those little things. Whereas like visualizing or other little techniques, like tons, like it's not like by the book, only use these 5. You can have billions of things and, you know, be creative and curious. That's all it needs. But other cases like require a whole lot more. And even I'm like, can I do anything for this person? Like apart from just like, you know, I'm a very visual person. So let's say if I talk to you or someone else, I very instantly connect with them and am able to tap into their like past lives or Akashic records or just some knowledge about what they did. And I share what I see. One, it's hard to put it in words or explain what I'm seeing because like I see and experience it, but you know, English second language, so it's already an issue. And then explaining those concepts with the words I don't know, or like how do I even make sense after everything I've seen, is always the hardest. And you know, like that's a huge block for me. But then even just the story again, for some people, like, oh my God, like this is exactly what I felt my whole life. Like deep inside they know or they feel it, but they just needed to hear that to finally it clicks. And that alone kind of blows off some case or like entities, just like that awareness of like, oh, now it makes sense. Because like a lot of times people just live in that confusion with no information, with looking for answers and they get nothing. So like the only thing I feel like I can provide in those cases is just like some confirmation. But you know, like that's me doubting my own skills and everything.
Okay. Yeah. Different kinds of entities, they respond differently to the techniques. Some of them, it's like a cockroach, you know, they're just going to sneak around in the shadows in the dark if you can't see it. And if you see one, it's going to run. Or somebody doing something in your organization, stealing or damaging things in the organization for whatever reasons, and they'll keep doing it until you find out, who they are, where they work in the department, which department they're in, what are they doing, what are their names, and what are their true intentions. And it's like if it was a real person in a real giant organization, when they got caught or could feel like, oh, they're about to get spotted, they will leave, they will run away, they will get out of the organization, they will, so it works that way with entities too. So just lots of different ways that works.
Yeah.
I like the ones where the clients and we do get a lot of clients that, are proactive. They're doing sole contract revocation. They're looking at what they've done to, attract the entity. We help them find out when the entity came, and what its intentions are. But they are proactive doing things. And there's, they do these, we call it a parts party, where they get these different parts. They talk to them and they get them talking to each other, and there's different techniques that can be used. But then then there's those creepy ones, those military abduction, secret space program, hardcore, high technology, real world, not in the astral realms or the metaphysical realms, but more like high tech ET creepy fuckers. And so they can be a little more challenging, or to deal with. Yeah.
I think like the hardest thing in those situations, for me, let's say if we would work with anyone that has, or like that is targeted by the secret space program, have been in 20 and back, or even like biological connections with their ancestors that, have something to do with, let's say, being cursed or involved with black magic, like maybe even a victim of it, or the whole Ashkenazi Jews, any kind of meeting darker groups or cults that are not too good for humanity. Like there's a lot of this karmic transference where people will get blame and consequences that are not their own. And like, it's just like, you get a whole lot of crap in the world, and how do you deal with that? Like that's, say facing something like that and shifting that transference is quite a big thing. A lot of those groups even don't like you snooping around looking at that, like, hey, you should not know it, so they try to punish you for it.
Yeah, that even in real world terms, you don't even have to go ancestral to understand the concept of taking on somebody else's burden. Somebody's father was a murderer or something, and so the person is carrying the blame and wants to make up for it, for the family name, so to speak, and they can suffer the consequences, or the karmic debt repaid. Doesn't pay it to the father who's gone, but now the child is having to repay the debt of the family thing, kind of like that. But it can go way back into one's ancestry as well. Especially way back when there was a lot of like you mentioned, black magic and curses and spells cast on whole families and family lines. And then there's the whole voodoo. That's another kind of black magic creepy shit. We've had a lot of clients with a lot of creepy shit, and there's just a lot of creepy shit going on around on this planet. So let's talk about off-planet stuff a little bit. That's kind of fun.
All right.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you would have nightmares, and you realize you were in war zones, or you were so you were like out of body at night, or what?
By today's definition, yeah. Like back then, it was just nightmare. By what my parents told me, it's just a nightmare. Like, okay, so that's the whole experience is the nightmare. Nowadays, I understand that everything I have experienced was more like just automatically, not even trying to, shifting consciousness, getting out of body kind of thing. Like I was just physical body falls asleep, I'm in another place, living another life.
So you're wide awake, and you know that you're here and you're now, and you got a great memory and consciousness about it. And do you even know that you have a physical body that's sleeping somewhere else? Are you not aware of it?
I'm looking at, like, let's say when I was a kid, and specifically when I started, like, nowadays I know. Back then I didn't really have the knowledge. I was like, oh look, I'm in a whole different body. I remember everything the body remembers. I just got here in a way. And I just run around with the story and meeting people, and I can talk to them and I can have conversations, and it's real as can be. And I come back, let's say I wake up. So some of the experience would be like really hardcore, but I would be like, my physical body starts like crying and weeping and everything else. It would just be terrorizing in a way. And other times I would wake up, but there's like this huge attachment to those worlds where I know the people, I miss them, the connection. Like you wake up and you miss someone you never ever met here in the physical world. How can that be? And it's just a dream. So why would it matter? But it became more of a thing when I started going to the same worlds again and again and again. Like it wasn't just one time experience. I would go back and the story would continue, or let's say it's been a week since I haven't dreamed of that place back in those terms. And I wake up and they're like, hey, like good to see you here again. You know, like, and all of a sudden, like, oh my, like, so I had various experiences where my body over there has lived for another week or certain time, while physical body didn't go into that world specific. Like as in, like physical body falls asleep and my consciousness doesn't go into that world specifically. And I had other experiences, and a week passes, and then I randomly just go in there. Like I had no control. I didn't even try to do it. It was just like, I'm gonna go to sleep and boom, it happens. You know, like I'm out. So, you know, I would have variations where I know I got here and they're happy to see me again, and they haven't seen me while I was gone. But other worlds, I would be like, my body over there continued on living, and once my physical body falls asleep here, I shift my consciousness and I connect to that body. I have the memory of what that body did, and I like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like refill, or you know, like that's you're watching a movie or something, and they have this recap. It's kind of like it's already in there in your mind automatically. You know it all. So a lot of experiences.
Wow. Okay. Now, when somebody comes to you and you're going to do a psychic reading on them, or we call it a deep scan, and they want to know what happened just before they came here. You know, what was I doing before I got here? Now, is that easy for you to tune into, or sometimes it's fuzzy and vague, or can you pretty much see what they were doing, and is it visual, and how does that work? Because that's one of the big ones that we get a lot, and I'm curious about too.
I mean, like relatively easy, but it also like really depends. Some people are like, hi, we just met, what's my past life? And you have nothing about them, so you just connect to the essence and try to get something. So it's more like, okay, become a blank slate. You're nothing. I don't exist. My story, everything I know is not there anymore. And I just connect to the person. And it's more like, again, my own workspace where I try to click, let's say either the void or this white room, nothing else except one color and the person. And then, you know, like as I'm connected to the person, like energetically, I'm just like trying to tune in. All of a sudden, that void that I had, complete blackness, becomes like I just have visuals, like something pops up. I'm in a spaceship, I'm in this world, and I'm just like point of awareness, like point of view, watching what's going on. And it's like a movie playing. And this is easy and this lasts a few seconds, but then there's like a lot of possibilities of, depending how they're playing their life and how their mind works, and they create those scenarios, what ifs, so they're creating alters in a way, and it all has before Earth. So like really depends what kind of beings are you connecting with, because if right now I'm connecting with you and you are affected by entities causing anxiety and grumpiness and everything else, or let's say secret space program or something else, really who's targeting you at that moment or who's affecting you is going to affect what I'm going to perceive. So, you know, like when I'm a blank slate and the person is not triggered, it's easy to get more of a real answer that might be closer. But other times it's like more, you know, affected by their own alters, creations, what ifs, thoughts, and a lot of other things. It is hard to explain and put it in words. So I can get it, but like my view gets scattered into like watching 50 movies all at once, and I'm like, okay, before Earth, there's 50 things. Which one do I talk about?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now, let's talk about ETs, just generally speaking, extraterrestrial beings. Can you like easily well, maybe, I don't know, do you have to if I ask you, hey, could you go talk to some Andromedans or Pleiadians right now? Could you just like instantly do it, or you kind of meditate a little bit or relax into it, or do you have to be in a mood or a safe space, or how does that work? And then you interact with like an ET of some sort.
Um, well, there's both ways, you just talking and directing me. It's like part of my awareness, like all of a sudden just jumps there.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm in a way not allowing myself to do it fully, or like you
Yeah.
just say that, so part of me is already there, but
Yeah.
I'm not connecting to it fully. So there's like, let's say 5 to 10% of perception of that place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very blurry view until I focus and start like, okay, I'm Pleiadians, and then I would like focus in more. But again, like when it's general, talk to some Pleiadian. Okay,
There's
good luck
billions
finding.
of them, right?
Go talk to a person, like which one, like, so like almost 8 billion people on Earth, and who do you talk to, and who do you like find specifically? So it's like generalized gets me all over the place, and whatever I will pick up first, I can focus on it, then start like having conversation, everything else. But if we have like a more clear target, then I can sort of like, okay, zoned in, have a laser focus in the way, and just go from there.
Yeah.
But it's doable. So like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Normally when we do work together, we ask the client to be as specific as possible on the target. So what you just explained doesn't happen. And so that we can get really tight laser focus on a specific entity or a specific, not just a specific past life, because you can live, there's a lot of going on in one past life. It's like specifically in that past life, what is it that, the client wants to look at or address? They could be stiff neck and they were hung too many times from a tree, weird shit like that. And then maybe more than one lifetime that they've been hung in that way. So now you could probably, even as I talk, you can probably start seeing that stuff, right? Yeah. So we don't really want to do it that way. We want to get specifically targeted. Like a time you were on a ship with a reptilian, for example, but a friendly reptilian, not just any reptilian, a buddy. Let's say you had a buddy reptilian, like a spy on a ship. See, I'm kind of getting more and more specific. Could you tune into and see a thing like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And is it pretty visual? Like give you a moment. If I shut the fuck up and you look, does it start popping and getting very vivid and 3D?
Yeah, I mean, like I start seeing the details of the room in a spaceship, for example, and like go, okay, there's that reptilian right in front of me, and feel its energy and everything else. Like if I would give myself more time to focus in and jump in there, it could become all touchy-feely, smelly, and everything else. Like turn on everything that you can have on Earth with the perception. It can happen in there. It's just that usually clients are like, okay, 1 hour, tell me everything about me. I'm like, okay, run fast, like no time to focus and be in there, just as fast as possible. And I don't know, like Rich and I, we have watched this anime called Spy Family. And there's this girl named Anya. She's like freaking cute, but I relate to her so much with the expression and everything else. But her biggest thing is like telepathically, like she's a esper, so she can like tune into people and read their thoughts and everything else. And in the crowd, she gets too much, so she's like, oh, like already like. So like in sessions, people are like want so much in a short period of time without being specific, and I get so much information, then I come out of the session like, oh boy, like feeling nauseous and sickish in a way. So yeah, I've learned to more like, because of the demands or what people want, I don't give myself time to jump and do certain things that I probably would like to look at and stuff, and it's just like quick and dirty in a way.
Yeah. That I appreciate people come in and, you know, and get 1 hour with us, I think we can really help them and help enlighten them. But at the same time, like, you know, I did over like 500 hours of past life regressions on myself, and you know, at least that much on other people. So you can really get involved in just one modality or one way of helping or being helped. And entity work, what?
My dog was climbing on the couch and he slipped and he just sat down.
Oh man.
I'm sorry. He's
That's all right.
cute.
Okay. So anyway, there entity work, for example, can take, you know, you can get in there and you can learn of some really great techniques really fast. But on the other hand, you know, I've worked over 100 hours on entity work, and other people that, you know, do this kind of work, you can put in a lot of time into that. But you can put in a lot of time into your gardening, or you can put a lot of time into Wim Hof style work, or Leonard Orr with his breathing, or Lester Levinson with his Sedona release methods. There's so many different things that people can do to get better spiritually, that whatever they're doing is a good thing, as long as they're, you know, working at improving themselves. So that's what we have. You know, we're helping them do that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm just like stuck in my dog sitting down weirdly. And yeah, I know, like, we're all different. And it really depends on what kind of case you got here. Like, you know, not everyone is the same. Like, I think all the abilities I have, absolutely everyone can do it. It's just like I just had a bit more practice with it. So everyone can recall their past lives and get all the looks into the entities and deal with all that stuff.
Yeah, which reminds me, I can ask you this. What's one of your most interesting past life realms or out of body experience where you go into another realm? Which one are most engaging or interesting for you, kind of realm?
Like, there's a lot of places, but I'm always like, let's say this question always leads me to the same one place where it's like my rehab, rejuvenation, that R&R place, where it's like away from duality. It's a lot of greenery, like a lot of nature, and very few beings. But you know, like you never need to talk, you never need to open your mouth or say a single word to explain yourself. It's like people can look at you, know who you are, how you're doing, how you're feeling, know everything about you. But it's not like anyone's keeping any secrets. It's just like that strong family connection, you know. So it's kind of like hard to, I don't know, like, should I explain some details or what?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
for me,
sure.
it's just more like
Yeah.
feely, touchy kind of thing over there, rather than, oh, look around, like, but yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I care about, you know, like
Yeah.
free of this place in mind and a lot of programming and everything else. Like, that's like my personal heaven, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I could ask you a lot more. We could just wrap it up here. Do you have a preference?
I think we can wrap it here, and if you know, maybe start another one or what.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if those of you who are watching this, you know, if you have questions or, you know, would like Agil and I to look into a certain thing, just, you know, out of curiosity, hey, what about this? What about that? We might be able to make another video along those lines. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Agil. You're just
sure.
freaking amazing with your psychic abilities and
Thanks.
ability to read things like that and see things. So really appreciate it. Okay, everybody. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching.
All right.
Bye-bye.